Hello everyone and welcome to Sutton's Daze. Today is a very unusual video. Very unusual. This has nothing to do with canning or food preservation. This has to do with helping out somebody. And so I hope that you will forgive me for bringing this, because this platform has to be used for good in different ways sometimes, I feel. I've only ever done this once before. And this time I'm doing it for somebody that I happen to know, because it's not something that I can cover on my own. So I'm reaching out to the community and asking that if you can, please consider it. I will leave information at the end of this video and down below on different ways that you can help. Right now I'd like to introduce you to my friend Jan as we talk about Jack Bear. Okay,
it's the
so
weirdest thing we've ever done.
This is my friend Jan, and this is, I told you guys, I say, Jan, say hi to the folks.
Hello.
But today we're going to talk a little bit about Jacques. Yes? Okay.
Yes.
And you guys know why, and so I thought you'd want to know a little bit of history about the person that we are fundraising for. So I guess I'm gonna let you start with tell us about Jack. I call him Jack. You call him whatever.
Yes, I call him Jack. When I first met him, he said his name was Jacques Julien Antoine Barre.
Okay.
And I said, well, pal, over here, you're Jack Bear. So that's kind of been it since.
Mm-hmm.
He had an amazing life, not one that most of us would want. He was born in Belgium in 1940, so during the war. Not an easy time, and then he was epileptic, so his mother placed him in a foster care home so that he could get the medicine he needed. He was there for 10 years.
Wow.
Until he finally left at age 15 and went to live with his beloved grandparents. He had about 4 years, and then his mother decided that everybody was going to the United States.
Awesome.
His brother, his older brother, was already here. His brother actually was worked with NASA. He was a genius guy. Jack had no idea. He wound up in the United States, couldn't speak English, didn't know what he was doing, but he was a survivor. He went into the military. You can only imagine how much fun they had with a guy who didn't speak much English.
Now, when did he go into the military?
I believe he was 20 years old.
Okay, but what war?
Vietnam.
He was in Vietnam?
He was in Vietnam. He was there as a translator and a forward observer. He had a lot of stories, like they all do. He came back home, and of course, after his 2 years, he was trying to make a living. He did anything. He was an Arthur Murray dance teacher. And I can tell you, here in Oscoda, the girls would line up. They all wanted to dance with Jack. He got the only girl in Oscoda who doesn't dance. So I basically kept the guys at the bar company, and he danced. He was an underwater welder. He was a cook at a large fair in Florida. You name it, he did it, but mostly he did over-the-road trucking. Now, try to hear that French accent coming over a CB radio. He was all over until he was seriously injured in a very bad accident and went on disability. And I met him here in beautiful downtown Oscoda, Michigan. And we were together 16 years.
Wow.
Until he began to show signs of Alzheimer's. And I thought, well, we can deal with this. And then he developed lung cancer because of his, well, let's just say he didn't really care for doctors. And he finally made it in, and it was already stage 4 and had gone into other organs and then went into his brain. I kept him here at home until the last 2 days when I had to put him in a home for his own safety.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing he wanted was to be 80 years, to make 80. Just let me be 80. He was 80 on May 20th of 2020, and he passed away on June 15th.
Oh,
So
gosh.
he made his goal.
Yes, he did.
And he was able to see his friends during COVID come over and stand on the sidewalk with signs and balloons and sing happy birthday.
Yeah.
And he had a cake. I will tell you 2 wonderful stories. The first one is about the patriotic man I knew. It didn't matter how he got there. He was going to every parade. He would sit in the car except to salute the flag. But one day we had gone to a small town just on a ride. And as we pulled in on the main street, I mean, he hollered, "Stop!" I slammed on the brakes, wondering what I was going to hit, and he jumped out of the car. I'm not even sure it was stopped. And he ran around the front and picked up a flag from the pavement. It had blown out of the holder on the telephone pole. He put the flag back in the holder, stepped back, saluted the flag, and got back in the car. I knew if there was a flag around, Jack Bear would step up and salute it.
Mm-hmm.
And the other funny story was his last birthday when my daughter asked him what kind of cake. He said he wanted an upcake. I said, "You mean a cupcake?" I very often had to use my decoder ring. "No, not a cupcake, an upcake." I said, I'm really sorry. I don't understand upcake. Not a cake like this, an upcake. So Mr. Bear got his chocolate layer cake, which the entire family now refers to as an upcake.
Mm-hmm.
He was funny. He was kind-hearted. I would see him buy a toy for a little child whose mother was saying, "Put it back, we can't afford that." That was Jack, I think, because of his childhood. And I will backtrack. When he was in the home in Belgium, it was actually a very large old castle. It was Gravenhof Castle. Just a big, old, damp, dark place to be.
Mm-hmm.
With a lot of other children, not much personal attention. So his first real holidays were here with me because they just didn't do that. And of course, when they got here, he was all over the place. So every Christmas and Easter, I decorate like crazy because of the childhood he didn't have. He did a good job of growing up with what little mentoring he had, which was pretty much none.
Right.
But he was, I have always said I've never met anyone. I don't care where they were from, grown up in the United States. I've never met anyone as patriotic as Jack was. He was a proud member of the American Legion. He was a very proud ex-Army to accept the 50-year pin from the senator when they did a program here in Michigan. And a little story on that. He was very weak at that time, very wobbly. And I was going to see how to get him through the line and to the senator. Well, he didn't want me to walk him there until a fellow from a couple chairs down jumped up. And I always have trouble with this story. He jumped up and grabbed him and said, "That's all right, ma'am, I got him." He said, "Come on, soldier, I got your back." And he walked him all the way up, helped him get his medal or his pin, and brought him back and sat him down and said it was an honor to do that.
Wow.
I pretty much lost it. We had a similar situation at the unveiling of the Northeast Michigan Veterans Memorial Park, which is where I was hoping to inter his ashes.
That was his big wish, right?
That was his one thing, was to be buried here in Oscoda, where he felt it was home, and to be with a veterans associated, like the Veterans Park.
Right.
And we went to the unveiling of the first panel, and he by that time was using a cane, and he fell on the way to the car. And again, all these guys are lined up for their free hot dogs and chips and everything, and I think there were 5 of them. They broke ranks real quickly, and they picked him up off the sidewalk. And the beauty of it is that brotherhood that I've heard about, I have had the honor to see in action. They got him to the car. They never made him feel like he was weak or something was wrong. They just joked with him, laughed with him, got him in the car, and said, "Thanks for your service, welcome home," and went back to their hot dogs. So, yeah, it is an amazing thing if you have never seen veterans helping other veterans. I hope you do.
Yes.
Because it is heartwarming, inspiring, and just every wonderful word you can think of. And that is pretty much Jack Bear. I'm sure I could go on for days, but some of the stories I will not tell.
Yeah, definitely. On your notes, I see that you say that you have no idea of the price. I reached out to the Veterans Memorial Park, and it's just under $3,000.
Yeah, I think she said 28 or 29 when
it's close to 29. Yeah, so just under $3,000. So that is our goal, to be able to have him interred at the Veterans Memorial Park in Oscoda, Michigan. Oscoda, just as a little background history, very short, is that it's the home of the former Wurtsmith Air Force Base, which is one of 10 SAC bases in the country.
Named for Paul B. Wurtsmith.
Yeah, yep. And it has one of 10 of the largest airfields in the country. And this one is still in use due to repurposing and a serious hard fight to do so. So
and during Desert Storm, Desert Shield,
yeah,
they dropped the biggest payload of any air base in the country.
Wow.
And they had pictures of some of them on the bombs.
Yeah.
Said Irish pub.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
The Irish pub is still in existence today, second generation. So this is a very small rural town. The average, I think, population is around 7,500 during the year. It can amp up to about 10 during the holiday season, during the summer season. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. But it's a very small town where a lot of vets came to retire because they enjoyed it here so much. So there's a lot of transplants that are vets. It's a very patriotic community.
Very, very definitely.
Yeah, yeah. But, okay, so this is my buddy Jan. And and we'll give you guys some more information regarding how you can donate to this really great cause. Okay, if you've made it with me this long, thank you. I appreciate you. If you can help, that's great. If you can't help, that's fine. It's not a problem, seriously. But anybody that can help, we greatly appreciate it. Being able to make this last wish happen is important to all of us. Jack was a good friend to Phil. They're both good friends to both of us. And being able to make this last wish come true is important to me. So in the description box below, there are one link and then an address. One link is to buy me a cup of coffee. Okay, so if you buy me a cup of coffee, all of the money from that account will go into the fund to pay to intern Jack at the Veterans Memorial Park in Oscoda. I also will be recording that when the service is held. Okay, so that I'll share with you guys that it was done, that it was accomplished. Also, I have a physical post office box that if you're more comfortable mailing a check, then you can mail a check there, and all of those funds will go into the account to pay for the same thing. I am only going to run this for the month of April 2022, so I appreciate anybody that can send anything to help make this happen. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you once again, and as always, please be safe.